Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's October 24th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and really, this is just a range day. We really have a trend that's working up, and we got to the upper side of the channel, then we're just working down. And of course, there's a channel working down here, and there's the shorter term stuff too as well. You really were better off to play most of the shorter term plays today to keep you on the right side. And that's not untypical on a day like this, but it looked like it was going to be really um, like a really strong trend day. But you see the spike up. So this is a spike and a channel somewhat. But again, the shorter term stuff probably kept you more on the right side. Early on this morning when I posted the original chart, it's only around 9 o'clock, a little after 9 o'clock, so we only had about that much going. So you really couldn't tell if this two-tier channel is working out pretty good. We bounced right off what looks like where your midline would be, so it looks pretty strong, but you won't really get that confirmation till you get down here and see what happens. And you can see we overshot it, but we got back inside, and that got you into the 2 o'clock. So it didn't really matter. If you used your shorter term channels here, they all played out perfectly, really. So um, it was really slow early on, not a lot of trades. So you had to kind of be patient. Um, but anyway, let's back out, talk about the trades, and we'll go from there. Make this a little larger. This is a really strong uh, rally going on right here, and then of course we get the break, and we bounce off the EMA, which is where you expect it to probably happen, and then we go higher. Notice we're working down. Get a first entry pullback. There's actually a second entry long right there, um, but look how bearish that bar is. So you don't want to go long right there. We do have what looks like a close outside. It's so iffy that maybe we didn't. You probably could draw this a little more like so, and it still fits just as well. So that's probably more like it. You can see it fits pretty good still on that side. It might even be a little steeper than that. But I originally had it drawn a little steeper off the closes. So either way, you still come out the same place. You get a close outside here and it moves to a new low. It bounces right off the EMA, and that's a fairly bullish bar. So I like going long there. I would have liked the second entry maybe if it was a little better signal bar, but it's not. And then you get the trap, of course, and pulls back here and you get a higher low. You really could have entered here as well. I'll make it green. I'm not because there is this shorter term trend line. If you draw it right there, it bounces right off of it. So the only reason I wouldn't make that one blue is because it's into those highs right across there. And notice it gaps over that support resistance line, and that's all trend lines are, support resistance lines. And I'll show you how prices gap these things all the time. I definitely wouldn't go long into this, right into this double top. It does pull back and bounces right off the trend line again, gives you another second entry and fairly bullish bar. So I like going long again. And of course it finally gets a new high. So now we got a break and a couple of legs up to a new high, and it corrects here. It never gives you any other entry off that trend line. It pushes right on through, it pulls back. That's really a failed second entry long here, but you're right into this support across here. I think you're probably better off to wait. It pulls back and it gives you another one right there, but it's just such a neutral bar and it's not very far to the lows right there. I kind of felt like you were better off to wait. And then finally it comes back and it tests it again, and it gives you a fairly small bearish bar with room to get out now. And by the time you try to go high that many times, try to go long that many times, it doesn't go anywhere, and you got to assume you're probably going lower. So and I would have liked this even better if it would have broke higher and then turned down, but then you get another second entry short right here. It's still a second entry short. You went up, first entry, pull back, and then a second entry. So I like that one. And prices are probably going to make a new low here. And the key is if you see the bigger channel, we're probably going to the other side. What do prices do? People will ask me this over and over. I've gotten this email several times this week. What if you had to pick one trade out? Which one would it be? A second entry, a failed break? Well, people that are thinking like that, they're thinking patterns, and we're not pattern traders. We look for patterns to help us find entries, but we want to find an entry going in the correct direction at the right place, which is the key entry points. I say that all the time, but for some reason people miss that. So once prices come off the high of this trend line, where are they probably heading next? They're probably heading to the lower side of the trend channel side. And so that's where prices are probably going here. I really thought we'd go all the way here, but they'd come back and then go lower. And it's because it's so neutral here that it's just there's not enough selling to get it on down there in one move, but that's where we're probably headed. And then of course, if you draw this line, you probably wouldn't have had this line. I actually had it up here like so and then overshot. And it may be an overshoot here, but in the end, I don't think it is. I think the channel is down here. So once we bounced here, and you probably think we're going to the other side. So that's where I thought we were going here. But when you've tested it that many times, you're probably going to run down and make this new low. And maybe we're going to go straight on down to here and then bounce. So that's what I was looking at. You really didn't have a lot of evidence to this lower one except off this lower side. And you pull it up and it doesn't fit anything up there. So it did end up confirming it here later, but at that point you just don't have a lot of evidence that this channel's here. So I'm still playing the brown one and the shorter term trend line, so I'm looking for a new low. And of course it bounces here. This is a failed break lower here, and it is a new low after a break. But the only reason I didn't like that back to the trend line is because prices are headed here. So I'm still kind of looking for shorts. And so we start moving up. It was tempting to want to go short there, but this is a reversal pattern. Look how we pushed through the EMA, pulled back. If this fails, you may want to go long. And it does fail, but at the same time, it never breaks higher above these others. So this is actually, I take that back. You could have considered going long there, and I probably should make it green, but I was leery of it because we should have been heading to this line if I was reading this thing right. But short term, you can't argue with that. You need to follow it. So you might have gone long there. But once it starts going sideways like this and can't go anywhere, I would exit. Simple as that, because this line may be right down here and we may get up to that line and turn down, and that's exactly what happened. So so you might have entered there, and if you did, once you started going sideways there, it might have still worked. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, it would have been a 4-tick failure. But if you didn't exit here, once it started going sideways up here, I would have exited. When we got that big bearish bar, I like going short there because now you got to close outside this channel, a new high, and a big bearish bar. And look how it shoots through the EMA, pulls back. This is not a perfect reversal. That doesn't come till further down here. But the fact that we pushed right through the EMA and we were looking for it to come down here anyway, I like that one. And it did break higher first and turn and go out the other side. So you could just go short there, have your stop going. I was close to making that one green, but I still think, again, I thought it would probably drop down steeper than that, but it didn't. It starts, the other side of the channel is not very far, and it just starts creeping down. And you really never get another chance to enter here until you get the for sure failed second entry long. Another bearish bar, and you can go short right there. So, and then it bounces, and you get your reversal pattern again right here. Notice the new low. First entry pushes on through the EMA, pulls back second entry, and go long there. And you're looking for it to come back up to this trend line if it's there, And hopefully you're going to come back and try to make a new high. But really, it's just such a weak day. And I'll be honest with you, all the way through here, I almost just wanted to circle this and say, stay out of it, because it's really, this is where it gets, when it gets really tight like this and you get a channel like that, you can see it's just working around in there. You did get a failed break lower here, and you did get your reversal pattern here, but the reason I don't like them is because I'm looking for prices to come down here if I'm reading this right. And all this is a failure, is a trap to trick you into getting long, and then it goes exactly where you think it does. So that's where your patience has to really come in. And that's the reason these are red arrows while this one's green. And really, this one, you could almost argue for that one because it's the double test of that right here. And the only reason I didn't like it as much is because there's not much room to that new low there, and it could tick one tick lower like it did in reverse. But, and maybe this is the lower side of the channel and it's not two-tiered. Notice how that gapped over there. I had that line drawn before those bars even formed, and it just gapped perfect. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. I just drew it off the bottom of this. I just drug it down off the bottom here, and when it gapped over right there, that's what led me to really believe I was right, and we're probably coming down here. But they had to trap some people and get some momentum before they could push it on down. So yeah, that one's a little bit, all through here is a little bit convoluted. Maybe these first three right here are not so much, but trading off this other side, it's a little convoluted. Again, like I said, this one you could probably argue for it to be green because that's definitely a channel working sideways, and that's a failed break lower. Plus, you got a break of the trend line in a new low, and we're a little bit ways from the EMA. And a lot of times when you push through a midline or a support resistance area, it's going to pull back and test it. Unfortunately, it got on through here, and that might have led you to say, hey, this is a breakout pullback, but a failed second entry short as well. So you might have gone long right there as well. If you did, once it started going sideways like that, especially when it pushed higher and still kept going sideways and couldn't break higher, I'd get out of that thing with a tick or two or whatever it would give you. It's possible as many times as it bounced off there, you got out of, you could fill a limit order, but you just never know with those. There are, until it ticks through, you're not guaranteed to be filled on a limit order. So I don't know if you'd have gotten out there or not if you were long. So, but when it reversed right there, I like going short both times, and then this was the sure thing on the failed second entry short. But you do get a close outside your little trend channel here, but you're not a measured move yet. I thought it would bounce there. It tried, but it pushed on through a little further and then bounced. And then again, your reversal here. And this is just two sideways here. There's nothing going on there that late in the day with all those stems on both sides and closes, odd closes. I wouldn't do anything in there. But you can see you got a break, new high, and then it reversed again. So all your short-term ones played out really perfectly. All day long. The only one that you really didn't get a break of was this one. And and maybe you did. Maybe this is more of a shorter term one like so. And that's probably correct there. You can kind of see that one. And you get a break, move to a new high, and it reversed as well. So looks like there's a channel within the shorter term channel within the bigger one. And sometimes, you get to look at one thing too hard and you miss the other, because I really didn't look at it like that way earlier, but I believe that fits perfectly. I think that's correct, and it shows you the break and the new high, but I missed that one earlier today for whatever reason. And that's what happens. Sometimes you get so zoned in on one pattern that you might miss another one. But going back to that original statement I made, that people send me the email saying, if you could only start with one pattern and trade one setup, which one would it be? Well, no doubt about it, in a trending day, two-legged pullbacks to the trend line or the EMA are high probability trades. But if you're not looking at the big picture, you may take a two-legged pullback that you shouldn't be taking. And so you need to be able to read the chart and know where prices are heading. Just like here, once we came off this high, if you realize we're probably headed to here, that keeps you out of some of these longs that might have messed you up because you know, hey, we're probably headed lower. We came off the upper side. So the key is you want to wait till prices get to the key entry point. Just like here, when we started coming in right here, if you're still trading, you want to be looking for a setup here. And unfortunately, a setup to go long because this is your key entry point, your main trend line. But it just pushes on through it, tells you, hey, something's changed here. But then you get your reversal at a place where you're expecting the prices to reverse, and then you go long. Same thing here. You're working, instead of looking for longs up through here, this wasn't really a confirmed trend line, so this is not a great example. But if you had a confirmed trend line up here and prices are working back, you know, hey, I know prices are working back to here, and that would definitely probably keep you out of this, and you wouldn't make a mistake there. But if you're paying attention and looking at the big picture, you know that, hey, it looks like there's a two-tiered channel here, and I'm expecting prices to end up down here, so I don't want to be getting fooled here on a break out of this little trading range because we traded down into this, so it's probably going to succeed breaking out going to the low side. Even though it failed once here and came back, it failed out the top and then it continued. So just keep that in mind. But that's pretty much it for today. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get a little more movement. This was a fairly, other than right through here, and then if you saw the big picture and you stuck to the rules, you probably wouldn't have had any problems here. You're looking for shorts for the most part, and draw those short-term trend lines, short-term ranges, and that'll really help you out. But there wasn't a whole lot going on today. But if you really, from just after the opening, after the new high on this over here, it was all downhill for the most part. And if you just waited on the price, the shorts, then you did well, and they were fairly easy to find. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. One other thing I was going to say here, if you saw this little channel here and you saw the break and the close, I wouldn't have been against taking that short right there either. But we're still in a fairly bullish move at this point, so I'm not going to change that one because this is really your signal bar, and so this was the after bar. So I probably still wouldn't. I'd probably still make that green, but that would be something to consider there too. So if you saw this shorter term one that's real steep here, which I do believe that's a good channel with a break and a new high. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.